The Under Country Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Under Country Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Under Country Music podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. Yeah, I'm doing a nice little tarantella right now. Is that how you say it? Tarantella, like the spider dance, like a tarantula, Italian spider dance there. How in the world did I get on Italian spider dances? Because it's time for the Under Country Music News. And a ho frickin' ho to you from Under Country Music News, episode 149. For those of you just joining us here, the Under Country Music News is just a small excerpt of the larger weekly internet podcast broadcast, Under Country Music, where you can hear music and stuff like that. And I break the news portion out on its own and rebroadcast that in some places, because there are some places that, you know, they don't want to deal with all the music clearances and stuff like that. So this helps me to get into more places and up in more faces. Anyway, the Under Country Music News is where every single week I go on to Google, I search for the term country music news, and up come all the websites there on the front page of Google. Most of them have some country music news, but it's all, you know, weaved in with a bunch of BS stuff like, you know, what Darius Rucker wants up his chimney and, you know, crap like that. And I weed out that junk, and I find the actual things, the actual news nuggets from the week in country music news that are actual news and not just BS garbage fluff press releases. And I compile them all here, and I bring them to you. And if a website is supposed to have country music news, but they've got all Darius Rucker jamming stuff up his chimney chute, then I reward those websites that don't do their jobs by bringing you no country music news with the Under Country Music News Wet Belts of the Week. And it sounds a little something like this. That's spiced with eggnog today. Yes! Are you ready to get into it? Let's do it. A-ho, 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 a-ho. Okay, we're going to start over at CMT, Country Music Television. Now, this first story is a bit of old news, but at least it's got some freshness to it with some brand new details. You may remember a few months back, historic RCA Studio A on Music Row in Nashville was slated for demolition by a developer who purchased the property and kicked Ben Folds out on his dang folded ear. Well, some preservationists stepped in and offered the developer a good chunk of money. Developer took it. RCA Studio A was saved. Now, that's not new news. That all happened a little over a month and a half ago or so. But what is new news is that the purchasers have come forward and shown their faces, and they call themselves the RCA Studio A Preservation Partners. And looking over this article, it looks like they talk about some things they want to do with the studio for education and events, but it looks like it'll be on a very limited basis, which basically means they're going to have a couple interns running around, which gets them free labor in the studio. And they're going to throw wine and cheese parties every once in a blue moon for Nashville's A-listers so that they can look like big shots. And you and I are realistically never going to see the inside of this place. So, not a great way to start out when you've been trying to drum up public sympathy and support for the cause, especially when there's probably going to be more properties that they're going to want to get, and they're going to play the public sympathy card and BS like that. You know, Yeah, I'm not buying it. But anyway, the new owners are Mike Curb, I'm assuming from Curb Records, Chuck Elcon, and Aubrey Preston. And they do make up the new Studio A preservation partners. Oh, and they are allowing Ben Folds to fold back in and run the place for them. Okay, and moving along, here's some sad news reported over at CMT. Chip Young, guitarist, legendary guitarist, by the way, who played on such classic hits as Dolly Parton's Jolene, Elvis Presley's Guitar Man, Charlie Pride's Kissin' Angel Good Morning, and he also was a member of Elvis Presley's official studio band from 1965 until Elvis' death in 1977. Well, Chip Young has passed away himself at the age of 76. The article does not disclose the cause of death. Rest in peace, Chip Young. Amazing, legendary body of work you have left behind. And I'm going to Prancer and Dancer right now on over to Taste of Country. They get to taste the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. I think they've tasted that like 2 or 3 weeks in a row. They're just not doing their jobs. It's all like, Darius Rucker, dark chimney chute shoving stories and, junk like that. Eric Church's Christmas Posse and, stuff like that. Anyway, moving along. No more time for that. Over at Country Weekly, they are reporting that Martina McBride has signed with NashIcon, who are collecting all the biggest names in country music right now, trying to bring them all under one roof for, the special promotion needs that you have when you are a gajillionaire performer. No, really not much else to the story. I mean, it's an entire page of stuff, but it's basically, just filler and the usual claptrap. But you can get on over there and read more about that if you like. Now, just last week here on this show, I reported that Lucy Hale would be kicking off an East Coast mini tour beginning January 29th. Well, it appears she is now canceling all the dates of that tour, citing vocal strain. Well, wait, I'm not saying she hasn't been out performing or anything, but it seems odd to me to cancel a tour this short, citing vocal strain when you have over a month before it even starts. I mean, it seems odd that, she could not get her voice rested up in a month's time. I mean, what the hell has she supposedly done to it? Oh, maybe she's got, nodes and has to do surgery or something and is worried about doing permanent damage or something like that. Yeah, the story doesn't really go into the particulars of it, just cites vocal strain and leaves it at that. Hey, well, I'm not going to armchair quarterback it, but anyway, we're going to Great Dane. All right, we're going to go to another place with more country music news. How about that? I ran out of witty S to say here, okay? Over at Great American Country, GAC. Well, I apparently didn't run out of Undercountry Music News Wet Belches of the Week because they got nothing. Now, let me read you all the nothing they have. Now, when I'm talking about fluff and BS stories, I'm talking about stuff like this. On their news page, obviously there's news because I'm over here reporting news, but they're not reporting any of it. Here are all the stories from their news page. I'm going to read them for you. 6 last-minute stocking stuffers. Brothers Osborne enjoy Christmas sights and sounds. Ban Perry talks Christmas shopping. Eric Church tells a Christmas story. Reba's Christmas plans include family. Thomas Rhett recalls favorite Christmas gifts. Lady Antebellum, real or fake Christmas trees. And there's a cookie recipe. A mother effing cookie recipe! You get a conveyor belt of Undercountry Music News Wet Belches of the Week, GAC. All right. I got no time for it. Over at The Boot, a cool story about the origins of Rascal Flatts' song, God Bless the Broken Road. Well, things I didn't know about it. It was written by members of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band and originally released in 1995 by Marcus Hummun. In the years leading up to Rascal Flatts releasing it, the song had over 150 holds. Now, I'm assuming, because I don't know all the industry speak out there, I'm guessing that means artists and their teams have paid a fee to reserve the right of refusal for that song, as far as being able to record and release it. And at one time, it was on hold with Brooks and Dunn. Well, that would probably made a pretty good Brooks and Dunn song, actually. Now, you can get more into this story over at The Boot. Another story at The Boot, the Zac Brown Band is scheduled to perform on the PBS show live from the Artist's Den on January 30th. Over at the 615, which is a subsection of Billboard.com, there is an op-ed, that means opinion editorial, by Steve Wariner about why he believes Dottie West should be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And I must say, I agree. She's actually famous. People know who she is. And the Hall of Fame inducts people all the time for their accomplishments and their contributions to country music who aren't actually famous. And last time I checked, it was called the Country Music Hall of Fame, right? Not Country Music Hall of people who contributed to country music that aren't really famous. That'd be a big sign. But, if they can induct non-famous people for their contributions, they can certainly induct someone who's actually a country legend who made major contributions and, is like actually famous. That seems like a no-brainer to me. Hall of Fame, get busy. Now, over at the 615, they also have an interview with Marty Raybon on the Shenandoah Reunion, which you can read over there. And here's a story from the past week that I haven't seen anywhere else. And this to me, this is like one of the big stories of the week. Sugarland and LiveNation, they have settled with the victims of the stage rigging collapse at the Indiana State Fair from 2011, which killed 7 people and injured nearly 100. Now, 2 investigative reports discovered that the rigging of the stage, quote-unquote, did not meet industry safety standards. The settlement came to $39 million. And, of course, that's not going to bring, people's loved ones back by any means, but it'll help pay some doctor bills. It'll help pay some bills from people whose life partners aren't there to help them with the mortgage or the rent or to feed those kids. It'll help put some kids through school. So let's hope there's at least some closure there for the families affected, and that whole thing just sucks. Anyway, I think we're going to end it over here. We're going to pull our little sleigh up to Rolling Stone Country. Let's see what they've got over there this week. They got another. We got a trifecta of undercountry music news wet belches of the week. I pull no punches, even at Christmas. That is my Christmas gift to you, Rolling Stone Country, a stinky wet belch. And this has been your Undercountry Music News. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly, hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts. Get on over to undercountrymusic.com where you can listen and subscribe. Stay under, stay country.